All right, I think we are live now. Welcome to Straight Out of Politics, another episode. And I'm here with my co-host, Liv. How are you doing, Liv? Hang on a second. I think you're muted. Say that
Yeah,
again.
hi. Hi,
Hi.
y'all. Hi, CJ. How are you?
Doing very well. So hang on a second here. Let me make sure this sound is right. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today was sort of the state of the United States when we're talking the American workers, Americans in general, the state of how the relationship between the American people and its government, the American government. So, and that led to this one of these tweets I did. I don't think I need to show it, but basically, governments should not be ran like businesses because governments are not businesses. And
Yep.
so let's diagnose, Liv, what the American state of business or state of government in relation to their people. Um, I don't believe government should be ran like a business, but the people in power believe that government should be ran like a business. They say it all the time, like it's a badge of honor, like it's they run on it. But yeah, Trump, I think, ran on part of it. He's a businessman, so he understands business because the whole idea in America is that our government should be ran like a business, which to me is absurd. But
Yep.
let's take their framing. Let's take that framework, Live, and run with it and kind of analyze it and how it affects everyday Americans. So if the government is being ran like a business, that means businesses have bottom lines, and businesses have budgets that they have to adhere to. Um, Businesses also have another thing, and that leads to the next question, which is, or the first question is, if we're being ran like a business, then what does that make Americans or American workers? Labor. That makes us
Mm-hmm.
the labor. So
Mm-hmm.
if we're looking at it that way, and I don't know if I said this before on a different episode or not, but that's how I like to look at any sort of framing when we're talking about economics, always thinking that we are being treated as we are labor costs, we are labor. So any sort of economic policy that comes out of Washington D.C. is kind of created through that lens. And I say that to say this, which is our government, we're a capitalist nation. And what's the most important thing to a capitalist when you're trying to be a capitalist or a successful capitalist? And that is keeping labor costs down. So
Mm-hmm.
if we are a business, we're a government being ran like a business, which makes the people labor, what's the most important thing in the economic system that we live in, which is capitalism? Keeping labor costs down. So this explains why anything that has to do with the American people is scrutinized. It's where what is it called, where you have different layers of bureaucracy in order just to qualify. I forget the name, but anyway, um, the point that I'm trying to make is any cost that involves the American people, for example, single payer healthcare. Now, anybody who's running a country, I'm about to pass it to you in just a moment here, Liv. Anyone who's running a country or any people who are running a country, of course, would want basic things like healthcare for their people. But if you're being ran like a business, where you have a bottom line that you have to meet regardless of what it affects, that to me is where the problem lies. So Liv, how do you see the state of America when it comes to economics, and in particular the relation of Americans to its government? Do you believe we're being ran like a business right now? And if so, what are your thoughts on how the government keeps labor costs down?
Oh my God. Well, it's absolutely clear that they made it clear that they plan on running the US government as a business. And that business is functioning under capitalism, and capitalism 101 is profits over people. So they're doing what you're saying in order to maintain those profits for the 1%, the ruling class. You need to keep those labor costs low. So how do you do that? You do that by policies. You do that by on state, federal, national, local, all levels. You're all working together to keep labor costs low, so the profits keep going, because there are profits. There are fruits of our labor. We are not getting them. Right. They are being strategically funneled through policy, because this is all legislated by policy. This is all by policy. This is contributing to the trickle-down economics that we see today, that we are supposed to be so proud of and thankful for. And how we see how many people, how many, it's like the 4 US billionaires have like more, or what is it? How many US billionaires have more wealth than the entire middle class? Exactly. But I do think now more workers, more humans are waking up to this. And we are in the middle of a strike wave right now, leading up to the general strike on Friday. That is huge. That is huge. So it's a strike wave in America, because that's important, because we've been a little slow. People throughout the world have been striking already. But now America's getting on board.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was just going to point out how I think we talked about, I forget which show we were on, where we talked about how there was just around the world, workers were seeing sort of through all of this BS that they're going through, and sort of, stepping out and doing this direct action of striking. To your point, there was the Nabisco strike. There was the Alabama coal miners. What was the other one you just mentioned?
Kellogg's is striking now.
Exactly, the Kellogg strike that's going on. We have the October 15th strike. So I kind of want to give them a shout out in just a second also. So, and then we have the, General Strike Summit that's next month. So there's a lot of waking up, to your point. So go ahead and finish what you were saying there.
Well, okay. So another point, like, there is a strike wave happening right now, and the controlling 1%, the establishment knows that, because they are in denial of it. Think of what the Southwest pilots are doing right now. They're in complete denial that this has anything to do about the vaccine mandate. Right. They know what's happening right now. They know workers, everyone, everyday modern human beings are picking up on this bullshit system that they've contrived and have tried to sell us on for so long, and we're just calling out the bullshit, and we're done. Right. We're done.
Right.
But they're in denial. They're trying to control the narrative in the mainstream media.
Right, which is why these platforms like us having this discussion is so important, and also which is why it explains the suppression of conversations like this on so many different platforms. Because, like you said, they see what's happening. They can see, yep. And I think, to me, I've always said this: a capitalist who knows how capitalism works and just the lifespan of a capitalism understands that there is an end cycle to any nation that's using capitalism, because eventually the people are going to say, this is crazy, where all the money is up here and we're fighting for basic crumbs. And just look, I mean, just to our point, just to the general point of this whole conversation, just look who just went up into space. Again, like just for fun, like these things that are happening just for fun. But I think it almost foreshadows what in sort of in their mind, when I say the 1%, sort of in their mind, is that we're not going to be here once. Yep. So we don't really care about what's happening.
They have an escape plan. Oh yeah,
right now we're talking about like recreation, but this is all testing for permanent.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like this is what they're thinking, I believe. I mean, because it doesn't make sense otherwise to trash this planet. It doesn't make sense not to invest in their planet from their point of view. Because if I was a capitalist and I'm greedy and I just want to keep making money, I want the planet to survive unless I have some other
You
plan.
have a backup plan.
Right. Have you
If
heard?
you have another planet
Have
to
you
go.
heard or saw articles or read anything about? I mean, they're kind of calling this a conspiracy right now about this backup plan about rich billionaires leaving the planet. Have you heard about this or just heard the buzz on Twitter?
This is we've all heard about this.
Right.
We all heard about Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk playing with spaceflight and the creation of the Space Force. Like, this is not hidden from us, y'all. Like, they're doing this in broad. It's like it's like how I was reading a tweet the other day about, like, y'all, you have to look this up. Event 201 in the Great Reset. Like, y'all, the conspiracy to, like, take over the world is very quite widely openly talked about.
Absolutely, absolutely, but let's pivot from these two or these people that are, you know, basically recreationally spending billions and millions of dollars to take these trips to space when we have, you know, homeless populations. There's so many people that can benefit from it. But I'm going to ask this question. It's kind of a off the subject, but on the subject. Has anyone ever gotten a capitalist to answer the question, if the system of capitalism is so good, how come it creates a class of people that has so less in a class of people that has so much? Like, how come it creates such a disparity? That's the question that I've literally searched that question on YouTube just to find out what is the capitalist point of view from that. Because what I like to do is not necessarily attack capitalism from, you know, numbers, but attack capitalism from its effects on people, for example. That's why I do a lot of shows on like the trauma from capitalism and American the American experience. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but anyway, let's get back to the subject of government being ran like a business. So we've identified that our government it wants to be ran like a business. It treats us like labor. It wants to cut labor cost. So this is where I do want to kind of interject our second subject while still kind of sticking on the subject. We're going to have to intertwine, which is talk about the Green Party. And that is, this is where I don't understand when you have such a disparity live in a government reacting to what the people need and want, basically not listening to what we want. And through those mechanisms of nothing being able to get accomplished is through Democrats or Republicans. This is where I don't understand why there's not more support for third parties, in particular the Green Party. And I don't get in particular leftists or people who call themselves progressive, even maybe, who say, you know, they believe in, you know, ending qualified immunity. They believe in the real Green New Deal, like the one that the Green Party created. They believe in, you know, abolishment of, you know, different, you know, programs that we all as leftists kind of believe in. Why does that not translate into more people going out to the ballot box and voting? So that's general, you know, kind of ties into what we're also talking about, because if we're dissatisfied with being ran like a business and we're being treated like labor, with costs being cut on us, all programs on us, I would think more people will be like, okay, I'm tired of voting for Republicans or Democrats because it's kind of, you know, keeping us here. Let me look at something else. Now, we know that Democrats go to court to get the Green Party off of ballots. We understand that obstruction, and we can talk about that too. But I kind of want to just focus on why is it that more leftists who say they're leftists, why is it more of them aren't coming out to vote for people. So what is your opinion now? Full disclosure, you are a member of the Green Party and an actual officer in your state.
Yeah.
But what is your opinion on why it doesn't seem to be translating, or maybe I misdiagnosed it? If you believe there's something else, please do explain.
Oh my God. There's so many things. You brought up so many points that I want to answer. I don't know where to start. I feel like I'll start with, like, people are already there. People are already fed up with the two-party system, because I believe close to 60% of registered voters are registered as independents.
Yes, exactly.
No, we're already there. So, the thing is, policies, again, determined by the establishment, Democrats and Republicans, are dictating who's on the ballot and who gets access to funding, all of these things that trying to reassure that they stay in power. So, people are, like, waking up to that. But then you have, what the classic war technique of divide and conquer that they try to do on the left. And it seems to be working so far, because it keeps us still, like, pitted against each other and so reactionary, instead of tapping into that empathy that we're supposed to be as revolutionaries, that love and empathy that is, like, supposed to guide us. It just turns us off, and we just, like, really get shut off. And there's been many issues within the Green Party that I totally understand why they've turned people off, but, like, the numbers are already there. I am sure that the people are already making these are already voting for what they want. But remember, the Democrats rigged the elections. All that news that just came out about them rigging the primaries, which when I brought that up to someone is, conspiracy theories. Didn't know facts were conspiracy theories now. But, like, voting is so corrupt. Electoral politics is so corrupted, y'all. It's so hard. So I totally get the discouragement and frustration with the system, that I'm sure. But also remember the legislation that's enacted for voter suppression, like that. I forget where, to, like, not give people who are in line to vote food and drinks. Like, what the fuck? Like, all of this is intentional and strategic to try and keep the ruling class in power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just to drill down to I felt like you were going down the path of do you feel maybe it's propaganda, that why maybe some leftists, even though they have these beliefs? So let me tell you what I think. I think leftists needs to get out of the mindset of, I'm only going to vote third party if that third party can win.
Yeah.
Because then you'll never be strong enough to win unless you have that first step of, you have to build the party, right? So, but the other thing is, the only reason they don't win is because you don't vote for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for in those areas where there are Green Party candidates and those are on the ballot, or in other areas, if you're able to write in a candidate and there's a candidate running in that area, like, the only thing that's stopping that candidate from getting more votes is the people in that area who would like to vote for him are not voting for him. They're still kind of falling for the propaganda of, we're going to end democracy unless you kind of hold your tongue and, hold your nose, I should say, and vote for Joe Biden. That's my personal assessment on why there's sort of a gap, because I think there's people who do still fall for that sort of propaganda. But what are your thoughts on that same sort of question on why you think there is a gap?
I definitely think what you said, propaganda for sure. I mean, how many times do you see ads for, like, third parties? Like, it's like on, but I don't even watch the news. So, like, how would you get access to me? You have to, like, follow follow them on social media, but how do you follow them if you don't know they're out there? So like, it's so hard. It's so hard, but it's definitely the propaganda that the establishment is promoting to make you think that it's not a choice, that is not available to you, that's not accessible. And
and we have to, we have to be able to get more people involved, because if we don't have the money for the Green Party, for example, if we're talking about the Green Party or whatever third party you're for, to televise advertisement or any advertisement really at all, to because again, there's a lot of people, I can think back, 10 years ago, I really didn't even know about the Green Party.
Yeah.
I didn't even know of his existence. So that's what I'm saying. It's like the places where I went, it just never heard of him or saw it. So that to me is a problem. But what do you think is a strategy to kind of break through to get to reach more people?
Doing what we're doing right now. I think talking to each other, having more open conversations, open, honest, empathetic conversations. White people especially just shutting up and listening, and learning. I think that is how, because honestly, I'm at the point right now, like, voting. Okay, that's November 2022. That's over a year for our climate. That's detrimental for our planet, for us, for humanity. That's detrimental. So I am hoping the revolution happens before the next election cycle. And part of the reason why I'm so done with electoral politics right now, and part of the reason why I'm using my role in the Green Party right now to really promote mutual aid, because that's the foundation of the revolution. Mutual aid, availability and accessibility for the general strike to happen and to be an ongoing successful strike. I'm really trying to use my position in my party right now to build up mutual aid, because I think that's what I want to see for us right now in the present and for the future. I want it.
That I think because mutual aid is really the building block to whether this is going to be or whether we're able to force change, because we have to be able to sustain ourselves outside of any sort of work or government help, in order to live, in order to fight back. Like, that is key to what we're doing. But look, this comment here, my concern that these strikes are not really forcing systematic change. They are just pushing for better benefits in a continuing owner class system. That is a very, very, very great point. That I guess, yeah. I mean, Johnny frames this eloquently. Another way of saying it would be, we're just asking the same oppressors to just give us a little more. You know what I mean? Like, should we be asking for ownership of, means of operation? Like, should we be?
We need to stop with the incrementalism.
More? Right.
Yes,
like,
we need radical systemic change. Yeah, and I totally understand and sympathize with this point, because that's one of my things with the demands of the general strike. I'm like, these are weak as shit. And that is not the radical systemic change that is going to save us from extinction. So that I do totally get that. Okay, so what's this? So you outsource jobs so that the labor supply is not global, for example. Is that talking about outsourcing jobs to outer space? Because that's going to happen.
It's so preposterous, and I just want more people to see where we're headed if we do not have this revolution, if we do not carry out this revolution. It's here.
Yep.
If we do not carry out this revolution, what is the future for our children? What is the future for our kids? They always speak about the deficit, and our kids are going to be paying for this. Our kids are not going to have a planet. Nope. Or a very unhealthy planet that basically eliminates any good quality of life, where you're just basically surviving meal to meal. And
Yep.
I don't know about that existence. So, but this next comment here, the Democratic Republican Party is quite blatantly an exercise in crony capitalism or socialism for the well-off, well-connected few. If we could what is that word?
It would be unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable. Oh, it would be unrecognizable to Adam Smith or perhaps very familiar. That is from Turkey Day. Thank you for that comment. Any thoughts on this?
I'm going through.
Crony capitalism is basically like, do you make a distinction between crony capitalism and, I guess, if there's something called crony capitalism, you have to assume there's something that's just regular capitalism.
Yeah, what's crony capitalism? Isn't this capitalism at its like core, like at its finest? Like, isn't this?
Yeah, that's kind of like another way I would put it is capitalism always leads to crony capitalism. That's
or it's maybe it's not all capitalism because it's only capitalism for like the 99% and socialism for the 1%. Okay, maybe that's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. This comment, they treat labor the same way as any commodity, supply and demand. You increase the labor supply relatively to demand, and you drop in costs. So the problem is the system that creates this sort of thing, in my opinion, because you on the flip side, because this is like the argument of, prices going up, for example, is just supply and demand. But the problem with the flip of that, and we're seeing it in real time, is when supply of labor is low, like we have right now, what they're calling labor shortage. There's forces that are helping to keep wages down. You get what I'm saying? Like, wages should be skyrocketing right now, not just just slightly going up. Wages should be skyrocketing, but as a class, they stick together to say, we're going to resist this to our end, because wages should right now with the labor market should be at least in the like $25, and I think it said like the average leisure worker, maybe restaurant worker, was like at $15 and some change. And I just think that, and they were saying it as if this is great. I mean, it's more than what it was.
That sounds too low. That sounds too low.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Is like, it's just that's still not enough.
Nope.
Wait a second here. Let's look through some more comments.
I see one. It's not a labor shortage. It's a wage shortage. It's class. Let's be clear. This is class war, y'all. This is war.
Right. And I'm glad you said that. If you see that comment, if you're able to put it up, go ahead and put that up, because I don't see it.
Let me, sorry. I don't think, I'm not signed into the streamer. I have to access the link, so I can't pull it up.
Yeah, I forgot.
It's by Yapax.
I'll find. Oh, there we go. Alrighty. It's not a labor shortage, it's a wage shortage. It's class warfare. Absolutely. And what I was going to say was, I don't know if enough American workers understand we're in a class warfare. Do you feel enough people understand that?
My dad doesn't. No, my dad doesn't. My mom doesn't.
Yeah. So, and the reason I say that is because anytime, if the ruling class is working together, or the corporate class is working together to suppress wages, that is class warfare. Their class against the working class, suppressing wages, for example. Like, and I just don't understand. I don't think enough people look at it that way. And if they did, more people will understand it. But I do believe that the pandemic has forced more people to wake up to this fact that there is a problem here. And I think it kind of contributes, Liv, to what they're calling the labor shortage right now. Because I know before the pandemic, I had a regular job, And yeah, I probably would never go back to working for somebody in the same sort of way again. Never again.
No.
I just can't.
No.
I can't have that control
No.
over me anymore. Let's see this comment here. Excuse me. Who knows what capitalism as its finest would be? All socialism doesn't lead to the Soviet Union. It could lead to Denmark. By contrast, not clear what actual capitalism leads to. Undone experiment. That is I think the socialism will lead to Soviet Union. That is just purely propaganda, in my opinion. I don't know if you think.
And Denmark is not a true socialist country. Let's be clear.
Right. All of this is all of what Americans understand as capitalism, as socialism, as communism has been framed by capitalists who want to demonize it. So a lot of people don't understand because they think that communism is synonymous with the Soviet Union or China, and that's just not the case. Just like freedom is not synonymous with capitalism in this country, or democracy is not synonymous with capitalism, even though they try to make it seem that way. That is a concerted effort to make it seem like capitalism is connected to democracy, and it's just simply not. So yeah, I love that comment. Any comments, Liv, on this?
We got a super chat.
Awesome.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matt. Let me get that up there. Oops. Okay. It's a capitalist strike, as in they are not filling positions until they break our spirits and accept lower wages like before the labor shortage. The capitalist strike. It's a capital strike, as and they are fulfilling positions. I think, is he saying that they're intentionally not filling positions? But
I feel like they're giving us, the incrementalism but it's, an attempt to they have it, like you said, wages should be skyrocketing right now, and they're trying to break our spirits and have us accept.
I get.
That's what I'm thinking.
In that context. Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't understand that, Matthew, at first. But thank you, Liv, for clarifying. And that's absolutely, in my opinion, I guess, Liv, maybe you could speak on it too. I think that's absolutely what they're doing, because I go to these restaurants. I live in an area where there's like 20 restaurants in the mall, like right by the mall. And, we can, hey, let's go order something. And it's lines everywhere because they don't have workers. So I'm just saying, I can see what's happening. So they need workers. And if you need workers, because the money you're going to lose from people not, wanting to wait a long time, you would say, hey, I'm going to bump these wages up. But they're purposely not doing that. Any comments, Liv, on this comment here?
I just wanted to be clear, it's not a labor shortage. There's plenty of people available to work. We're just not paying. We're not paying enough, and we're not meeting the needs enough. And how about all the fucking people that have just died from COVID during the pandemic that is still ongoing?
Right. They never say anything about that. I was talking to my wife a few weeks about that. They never mention the fact, where are all the workers? Where'd
they go?
Wait a minute. Are they counting the thousands of people that die? But apparently not. Apparently they're not counting them. Oh, somebody says, hey, Liv. There you go. And
hello.
Do all the comments here. I want to make sure I get any in particular questions about the topic.
So this was actually Matthew, who you just had up, is actually my friend Mateo on Twitter, my comrade Mateo. Shout out, hey comrade. And he said, yes, they are intentionally not filling positions. It's because people are saying they are not taking these wages. They're saying, will you pay more? And they're saying no.
Right.
So they're intentionally not hiring.
They're intentionally not hiring because they know they could pay more, But they're thinking they're just going to ride this out. I guess they're going to ride this out. But I think, see, the thing is, what the pandemic did, Liv, was it allowed people to take a breath. Because if they think, they know that workers didn't never wanted to stay in these low paying jobs, that anytime you're taking a low paying job, your idea going in, or I would hope most people's idea going in, this is temporary till I get something else, but you get locked into it because you got bills, you got rent, you got to, buy food, you got to live life. So you have to support that, and you have to work so many hours because you're paid so little to pay those things. You don't even have time to look for another job. So you're locked in this cycle, and the pandemic allowed people to break that cycle and say, hey, yeah, I'm done with that job. Now that I'm stopped, I'm at home and I'm not going to work. Now I can really look for something that I won't. I think there is a little bit of that going on. What do you think is contributing to the labor, what they're calling a labor shortage, or people not taking these jobs, or just to what I said, like people the pandemic being able to give people a breather on with these low wage jobs? What are your thoughts, Liz?
Yeah, I think 19 has absolutely changed everything, especially how we view work in our labor. And that is very much attributed to the movement we are seeing right now, to the strike wave. I think it absolutely correlates with each other.
Right. And I think more people may be waking up than maybe we can see, like on social media, because there has to be people waking up that's not on social media, because it felt like at the time when we opened, the numbers, I'm not sure the numbers with COVID wasn't surging at the time when we first opened, but it felt like everybody at the same time was like, I'm not going back to these jobs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it felt like just the experience of the pandemic, the lack of economic response from our government from all those months, and then just the pennies that we got out of them when they did respond. Like that had to be jarring for a lot of people, and to wake them up and be like, yeah, like this just is not, something's not right about it, or at least that's what I hope. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're spot on. And Nick in the chat, hey Nick, agrees. Yeah, I think this has absolutely changed how it's just everything. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I can't think of anything it hasn't changed. But I think people are especially saying, like, I don't know, I guess I'll talk like right now about like what's happening like right now with like all these people saying like, what, the vaccine mandate, like fuck this vaccine, like this is classist, this is racist, like what the hell. This is all these people that are quitting the police, the military. Okay, maybe not the police. I hate the police. I hate the police.
You don't want to include them. You're like,
I know. I hate the police.
But I get what you're saying. In the same principle of why they're quitting, there is an agreement in this part only. That's what you're saying. So I get it. Outside of that, you hate the police, but there is an agreement in. There are some police quitting based on the idea, the mandate idea. Yes.
Let's use that to reel them in, pull them in, be like, yeah, the mandates, the government, this all fucking sucks. What can we do about it? And I think they will get on board. And then putting in, the cultural humility and sensitivity training in there, loading that on, which again is all these mostly white men. My advice to you is to shut the fuck up and listen. Just to get all that.
Like, you say that a lot. What that is like, explain what that comment means when you say that, so people know that have not heard you say that before.
I just think that's one of the biggest problems that we have, because we promote individualism. So I think sometimes, like a lot of us, like we want to hear ourselves talk and whatever. And then white people were conditioned to like not talk about a lot of things. Like, don't talk about politics. It's not polite. Don't talk about how much money you're making. It's not polite. So we're really conditioned to, again, live in this white privilege bubble. And it stops us from, reaching out high, reaching out our bubble and getting, more of the actual experiences of others that are being, brutally attacked by the system. Whereas, with white privilege, you are inherently benefiting from the system. And if you just take the time to listen, to shut up and listen, and if you're going to talk, ask questions, it is so monumental to not only your growth, but helping that person feel heard and listened to and uplifting their voice. That is what you can do with your white privilege, uplift others. And that is really so simple. But for me, what I've learned is to just I'm doing a Black Led Pan African Unity Space on Twitter on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. now, with Josanna and a comrade in the UK, Alphabet. And it's we just have, I'm just the host because I have the 1,000 followers that allows me to have the space, but I really am just there to listen and learn. Like, I give Alphabet, like, these are a couple of my questions, and it's a Black led space. And because that's what I think is so crucial right now, especially for white people, is to listen, to shut up and listen to others. Use your privilege to bring those to the table and uplift them.
I think, to your point, why that's so important is because why it's so important for white allies and white people in general to listen is that it's about relearning what you think you know.
Yeah.
Learning against what you've been propagandized to believe. That's why it requires you to listen, is because you have what you think you know, what you've seen on TV is not really what's happening. So it's just you're relearning, or maybe not even relearning, because you were giving propaganda before. You're learning. So that is a great point. And right here we have
I do here. No, we'll read this, and then I have a point in the comments that I want to address.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you right here for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Jay Rosales, I think that's how you say the name. $5. I'm glad to see some targeted labor strikes popping up all over the place now. Power to the workers. I hope this dominoes to a general strike. And you know what? You know what Liv and I love to talk about.
Woo!
General strike. Okay. We love to talk about. I think we at least mention it at least once or twice every time we have an episode. Because everything we're talking about, every issue, every policy, I really feel it's really going to come through some sort of direct action. And of course, the golden, the holy grail is the general strike. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for that super chat. Now go ahead. You say you had another comment.
Okay. Let me go off for a second, because this is a crucial point that I need to address and have everyone understand. This comment, Big G Haywood. Sister, there are plenty of white folks who are struggling. The average white person in this country is poor and has to work their asses off just to survive. These people are not privileged. Thank you. Let's be clear. Poor white people still have white privilege. Last time I checked, you're still white. The color of your skin still gives you inherent privilege in this white supremacy dominated system. You being poor and having a poor white experience is much different than a poor black, a poor indigenous, poor, et cetera, experience and even just a black privilege experience. It is very different. It is very different. I need to be very clear here, because you can clean up, a poor white person can clean themselves up and walk into a bank or walk into wherever and get a loan, get an apartment, get a home, much easier than a person of color. That is white privilege. So yes, poor people still do have white privilege.
Right. And I'm glad you made that point, because privilege, I think he's speaking to economic privilege, and you're speaking to privilege in general, complexion, to your complexion. And because, yes, there are poor white people in the United States, of course, and they are part of our rainbow coalition. That's not the point at all. That's not the space or the what we're talking about, or that's not what we're saying at all. These are our allies. These are our allies. These are the people we want to stand side by side, because we want economic justice for them also. So that's not at all what we're saying. We're not denigrating anybody's economic struggle or anybody's struggle at all, or anybody's. We all have gone through the American experience, and it's been traumatic. That is not at all what we're saying. Now, to Liv's point, there is another layer, is all that I'm saying. There is another layer, which is race. This construct of race. There is another layer on top of that. So yes, we're poor. Different races, different ethnicities, different communities, poor all evenly. There are layers, just like, indigenous people. Some of the things they've been going through, like, it's just terrible. But then there's people that may have only been poor for a generation. So the point I'm trying to make, in there is levels, but currently everyone's poor. There's a lot of different poor people, a lot of different races, spanning over different races. So that is not the point. I just wanted to make that clear.
Well, it goes back to what someone else said. It's the class warfare happening right now. It is a class war. That does not mean white poor people do not have to check their white privilege. Let's be clear about that.
Right.
This is a class struggle, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to call white people out on their white privilege.
Right.
And
exactly.
So what someone said, if you don't look clean, you can't get a loan. Yes, if you walk in looking professional, the whitewash version of professional, you are more likely to get whatever. You are more likely to get and benefit from this system, from how it is programmed. That is how this system works.
Right. So yes. So I don't think necessarily anyone's disagreeing. Everyone's struggling. All different communities, all different ethnicities, races. Everyone is struggling under the oppression of capitalism. Everyone. That is a fact. And then there's more layers. Women have another layer. Blacks have another layer. Indigenous people have. So it's just more layers, different layers, because capitalism has a way of finding all the isms and exploiting that to their benefit of profit. Because I know I'm going off on another tangent, but I do want to make sure I make this point. For example, you think that it's just sexist to pay women less? It's an economic benefit. How much money are you saving by paying more than half of the working population less than what they're supposed to be? So it's an economic decision to keep that in place. You get what I'm saying? So these are economic decisions, because you got to always remember the framing is we are labor, and capitalists want to always keep labor costs down. So anything where cost is on us, that cost they want to cut. So that is the point I wanted to make. Did you see any other kind of comments that you kind of wanted to?
I'll just go through them right now. Thanks, y'all, for being so interactive.
Yeah, I love it. Let's see here. Did I always put this one? Class.
Regardless of that income bracket, whites are privileged within that bracket. That's a good way to sum it up.
I'm gonna put that one up there too.
Surreal times.
Turkey Day is a regular here, so I do put a lot of Turkey Day comments up here. But class warfare happened. It's over. Past perspective doesn't mean nonviolent can't bring about the fall of an empire. Worked on
Honey,
Soviet and so Africa
honey,
racist regime.
that hurts. That hurts because this is happening right now.
Mm.
And if you want to say doesn't mean nonviolence can't bring about the fall of the empire, like I want to say, look at what's happening to the indigenous water protectors who are protesting right out front of the White House right now and getting arrested by the Secret Service for peacefully protesting. They are getting illegally arrested. So fuck nonviolence protesting. It's time to take up arms and do organized protests because they are going to fuck with us. And at this point, it is self-defense.
Now now I'm just gonna shout out what we're working on because we're working on a show called Flamethrowers. It's a special episode of Straight Outta Politics, and I'm gonna bring on a panel of activists like Liv, and you heard her why she's gonna be on there. But these are activists who believe in the next level of direct action. And we're trying to just work out the date and time. So before, I don't want to announce that yet because I announced it on Twitter, but now I'm finding out we may have to adjust that. So that's coming, a panel of just people who I know are about direct action, but they're about like the next, like, no, it's time to go to the next level. So since you just said that, I wanted to make sure I shouted that out. That is coming up.
Thank you, Turkey Day.
Yes. Now let's put this one on here. So as a white dude, I can get ahead with the racist boss man. Is that the comment you read earlier? Or you
I did read that. Yes, I did read that. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a good way of seeing it. That is a good way of seeing it. But again, yeah. Well, I don't need to say that last point again. So all right. So I saw something here about nonviolence. Turkey Day again. Let's see what Turkey Day is say right here. Nonviolence is what works. Defeating a modern military using violence won't. There's an academic won't. There's an academic who work is now used globally as a manual in terms of strategically organizing movements. I have to digest that. If you have any comments on that, you're more than welcome to.
Really, because that's what's been used up until now, and that's what got us here. So, beg to differ. Yeah. They're always watching. Oh my God. It's been crazy in the Twitter spaces. They've been shutting us down. Yep.
Yes. It's yes. I mean, you would just think that, oh, yeah, I've heard. No, it's happening. It's happening. I agree. Poor whites all will experience privilege, but empathy needs to be primary, and the exploitation we share should be. So so I would take out the focus part, but some of this I do sort of like that's what I was kind of explaining, that yes, there is there is levels there like there is a level of white privilege still, even if you're a poor white versus a poor indigenous, for example. Like an indigenous can't take off their indigenous so that they're a racist officer, for example, doesn't beat them or something like that. So that's similar. That's simply the point. But to the second part of this, which is, but that's what I'm basically saying. But there's just overall empathy, overall solidarity, that overall races and communities that we're all sort of being oppressed. It may be on different levels, but that doesn't mean that we're not all being traumatized by that oppression. So let's, that's the point of view I sort of want to just come from. And that kind of is a good segue for the General Strike Summit. That's also the point of view of the General Strike Summit, Liv, that I think it needs to be. I think now I'm kind of switching to just a general strike in general. A general strike, in order for it to be successful, in my opinion, it has to come. We said this before. It has to come from a place of love. It really has to be a campaign. I really don't see like how it can be another way, how it can be successfully done another way, besides literally just as we gain people participating, we're just, maybe it's every weekend. Hey, everybody pledges to knock on 10 doors every weekend for, however long, a month, 2 months, 3 months, until we're reaching more people. We're reaching more people. That's the sort of campaign, but it has to come from a place of, we are here to help. Like, we're here. What is needed? What do you need? Are you behind on any bills? Like, this is where the mutual aid that we all feel is very important. This is where it is so, so, so important, because we have a mutual aid structure where we're going door to door and we're having conversations with people about their lives. How are you doing economically? Are you behind on some bills? We can try to, we can get you some funds to pay your electric bill, your phone bill, to get you some gas. You'd be surprised. You just get somebody, a $200 gas card. Like, it's just, we have to, that's the step in. And that's our way for them to be, at least to say, they'll listen. So we can say, okay, we believe you deserve a better life. We believe all of us deserve a better life. And collectively, if we show our power through our labor, we will be able to accomplish this, a better wage for you. So you get what I'm saying? It has to be presented in a way, real life impact, and I think that'll be the way, but that is not an overnight thing necessarily. So my question to you, Liv, is how do you do something like that, what I just explained, but when you have the urgency of the climate crisis, but there needs to be some, you know what I mean? There needs to be some urgency now.
Yep.
But there needs to be some educating of getting, so we can get more people on. Like, how do we balance that? You know what I mean?
That's a good question. I'm still asking myself that. My thought. Well, here's another comment. Jay Rosales. Empathy is really important, but I think POC can get tired when they have to genuflect all the time to the to the dominant group's feelings. But yeah, active listening is a barrier reducer for sure.
What does that mean, genuflex?
I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me.
Empathy is really important, but I think people of color can get tired.
I feel like
when they have to
processing
all the time to the dominant genuflex. Yeah, please, if you can look that up. But what I like to do is kind of look at the context and kind of break down the word. But
genuflect. Lower one's body briefly by bending one knee to the ground, typically in worship or as a sign of respect.
So she's using it figuratively. So like, basically sort of have to bow down to the dominant person's feeling. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So I get that comment now. Thank you, Jay. Some great comments.
Thank you.
Loving everybody in. I'm going to go way, way far back to the beginning, see if we missed anything. Lemonade stand on every corner. And maybe that's a great way to raise money. Is that, I don't recall what we were saying, but.
I think you were saying, like, how do we tell people about this? Like, with the urgency of the climate crisis, like, how do we spread this word? Well, like a lemonade stand at every corner. That's a form of mutual aid. Get in that shit. Like, do that. Right. That's great. There's so many different forms of mutual aid, but get involved with mutual aid, because that is what is going to sustain us throughout post-revolution times.
Right. So it's my belief that, all of these things work together to suppress and keeping our education low. It's always like where they have to keep a certain segment of people disadvantaged, right? You have to keep them disadvantaged so that because you have to have a lower class willing to do these really, really low paying jobs in order to keep capitalists funneling money to the top. Because if they have to share more, then less they get to keep for for their own pot. So I always say, and I was saying this to Fiorella when I had her on, to me, suppressing wages is key to this entire system. Keeping wages low is key, because if you keep it affects so many things. Keeping wages low means I have to work multiple jobs. If I have to work multiple jobs, guess what? I don't have the time to check out all the propaganda you're telling me. I got to kind of just go off of face value because I simply don't have the time. I have to work 2 jobs just to pay rent and keep my kids in daycare. And I don't know if you've seen well, you're young. Daycare is outrageous. Like you almost have to just get just a job just for
childcare is a human right.
Right. It is outrageous. And yeah, so this question here. So what countries should we emulate, if any? People always say the Scandinavian countries. So you're talking like Denmark, you're talking to like Norway. What else is up there?
I think of Cuba. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
And when you say think of Cuba, explain what you mean.
I think of how they've just been so resilient under all the U.S. sanctions, and like still on, like this is amazing. The Cuban people are amazing. And I just think their resilience and strength is something we should emulate and admire, that and try and replicate for our own revolution here that will ignite the proletariat global revolution.
Right. Yeah, and I absolutely agree. I don't really have a country necessarily that we should emulate per se, because I like for example, like what you pointed out about Cuba. I like some Scandinavian countries have some great social safety nets, like great social safety nets. So I like that, some of what they do. I just think that society or a government, if we're going to have a structured government, it benefits everyone if everyone is paid well. It benefits everyone if everyone has health care. It benefits, just think if everyone had health care when a pandemic hit. We all know that there will be a lot less deaths if people had health care, because they would have known about ailments. You know how many people got COVID and didn't even know about these other, how you have other ailments, it makes the virus worse, makes the effects of the virus worse. And there's people that had no idea because they haven't been to a doctor in 10 years because they can't afford it and the job they have doesn't provide it. So what I'm saying is it benefits everyone unless you're looking at the country like a business, and workers dying who can't produce to you are of no value to you. So you get what I'm saying? So this is the reason why we have to change the whole idea of we want our country to run like a government or a business, or a government to run like a business. We don't want that. So let's see if there's any other comments here that I missed. Oh, I think this person brings up Scandinavian countries.
Someone brought up Vietnam, which I do need to do more research, but I believe they have been one of the countries next to New Zealand who has been like one of the best with their COVID-19 handling.
Yes, I've heard the same thing. I'm not sure if this person. Yeah, this person is answering Robert, the question we just had up. This question here, they're answering this question here. So, trade unions now here in Scandinavia, I guess this person is are not real trade unions. Commercial insurance policies. None of the money maybe goes to training shops, stewards, strike funds. Trade unions here in Scandinavia. Yes, so I'm not sure what he was saying there. Okay, let's go to the next one. The culture on not sharing your income with others is another divide and conquer strategy. While that is like I always knew that, but just putting that in one sentence, that is absolutely a powerful censure. The sentence, the culture of not sharing your income with others is a divide and conquer strategy. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is absolutely very, very poignant. Yes. Because so we're in the community, Liv, and I'm working, I have all this money. If I'm under the belief of, this is just me, I own this, this is just for me.
Individualism.
Right, individualism. I did this all on my own. Nobody helped me. This just for me. I don't care. Like, it's to the point. Like, it's just amazing to me, Liv, that
Mm-hmm.
CEOs could get paid tens of millions of dollars, and we can't afford money for everybody to have daycare.
Can't afford
everybody to have health care. That is just so bizarre. Just, I mean, outside of the realm of economics, that is so bizarre to me that humans don't think other humans should have health care. That is just that is bizarre to me. That's just something I can't get over. But yeah, I agree with this comment here. Tell a friend about FHL. Yes.
And Populist Voice Network.
And the Populist Voice Network. And we're going to be shouting out the Populist Voice Network in just a second and telling you what's coming, what's going on, some exciting news about that once we get to the end of this, which we are coming close here, Liv, because I don't want to have a break before our next podcast here. So, hey, let me make sure there's no other great comments we want to make sure we address before we take off here.
Hearing good things about Vietnam. I got to educate myself, but I have heard good things about like Southeast Asian countries.
Let's see. Meanwhile, our lovely country is marching forward. Oh, that's what this conversation is about in here. Okay.
And someone else said, like over 200,000 deaths have been attributed from COVID have been attributed to lack of healthcare. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw a report that said like about like 400,000 deaths could have been prevented if we had single payer healthcare, or if we had a form of healthcare, nationalized healthcare. Yep. So this is murder. This is murder.
It's amazing. It's not amazing. It's amazing in a bad way that people would just treat people like that. It's just, this person says, American voters don't want healthcare. They want war and well-paying jobs. That's
not true. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Well, I would say maybe Mike Smith is saying the proof is in the pudding. We're voting for people that's doing this.
I know. Okay, true.
But it's propaganda. Like, the power of propaganda is so misunderstood or misunderrepresented. Like, the power is so powerful that when people believe they're free, but they're feeding you information, that's just simply not true. And you're voting against your own interests by voting for either one of these corporate duopoly parties, in my opinion. So, all right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here now, just after the hour mark. We do have today, I think we have enough for the panel at the conversations with leftists. If we don't,
I think we were a little short on each.
Okay. So I won't announce that. We'll see what happens with that. I won't announce that. But Liv, what's happening with you, and what's happening? What do you have to announce? What's going on with you?
Well, today, at 7 p.m. I will be on Bitch with Comrade Misty. I'm very, very excited about that. And then let me think. Tomorrow is Friday. No, tomorrow is Thursday. I am trying to organize a group of people to go down to DC on Friday, which is the general strike. which is
Right.
what kicks off.
Right.
Which is the last day of the People vs. Fossil Fuels protest in DC, where the indigenous water protectors are getting illegally arrested. If you are interested in going to DC to protest for the general strike and or protect the water protectors from getting arrested, please DM me on my Twitter. I'm trying to organize a group of people to go down to protest because shit's not right, and we got to stand up for this, and we got to protect our comrades. Also, now all with that, I'm getting ready for the launch of Populist Voice Network next week, and we got a lot of great stuff coming for you. So stay tuned. We have like 7 new shows coming. So we have a lot of great material, great comrades to share their opinions and voices with us. So please stay tuned and subscribe to the Populist Voice Network.
Well, first, we have to say, Liv is the network director of the Populist Voice Network. So she's running the show over there. So I'm very excited that what's happening. Just hearing about all the different shows that you've been working on. I love the ideas for the new logo. Just love everything that I'm hearing about what's happening with the Populist Voice. And so when are you launching, or not, when is the Populist Voice launching? Like, when is the first episode launching? Do you know that yet?
Monday, I can tell you. I can pull up our schedule.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, let's tell them when when the first show is and when your show is. I love the name of your show.
Thank you. Oh, where is our schedule? All I'm seeing is the logos right now. Here we go. Okay, so we are officially relaunching the Populist Voice Network on Monday, this coming Monday, which you'll have to tell me, I'm so bad with my dates, which is October 18th.
18th. Yes.
Okay. October 18th. We're coming with you. Bubble and El Diablo at 3 p.m. on Monday. Locks and Leftists. 9:30 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Postmortem Breakdown with Joy, Logan, and Andrew. Wednesdays we have our Conversations with Leftists and the New Left panel. I forget which one. I believe it's Conversations with Leftists is at 5:30 and the New Left is at 8.
Yes.
Okay. And then Thursdays we will be having Politics of Justice with Soul and Abby. And that's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern to 8:30 p.m. We will also have on Thursday nights The Revolutionary Reader at 9 p.m. Friday is my show, Live Positive, at 7 p.m. And then Saturdays we will be having the Comrade Logs, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then Professional Lapses at 11 p.m. with Austin Novi in London.
Wow, that's
so we got a lot coming up.
It's late. Now, Live Positive, that's your show, a play on your name. Great name. What do you want your show to be about, or what is your show going to be about?
So I'm going to be touching upon, so for my first episode, I'm going to be touching upon the strike wave and the general strike, everything strike happening within the country, what happens, what history of striking, all that jazz. We're going to be recapping all of that in my first episode. And I called it Live Positive because I want to make everything with a positive spin on it. I always want to give a solution, a positive solution as to what you can do to help the problem. So that's why I call it Live Positive. So please subscribe to the Populist Voice Network, and we will be coming at you next week, and we'll be promoting it. We've been promoting it. So follow us on Twitter. We're getting we have our TikTok. And I think we have a Facebook page. Correct me if I'm missing any social media.
Instagram. I think that'd probably be the only one that you're missing. But yeah, and that's great. Great to hear about a lot of those shows. Very curious about, for example, like Revolution is going to be some great books I want to read also. But I do also want to talk about something very, very important.
Yeah,
That's coming up here. I almost left without talking about this, but no, this is very, very important. National General Strike, October 15th. That is in 2 days on Friday. 0 days, 10 hours, 40 minutes, and 52 seconds, 51 seconds away. This is a great, great website. It's octoberstrike.com if you want to get more details. It goes through what is a general strike, why strike. I do kind of want to cover that in just a second. And then the goals. So I do want to read their goals and some of this here. Just so that because it's good information. They also have about you resources, contacts that you can also get on
here. And real quick, CJ, will you see under resources? Is there a mutual aid tab?
Let's see if there is actions, download or actions legislation.
Because that's my one biggest complaint about this and why I'm worried about it. I don't think this page should be connected with a mutual aid network.
Mutual aid.
So I'm gonna, just tell y'all out there, this page is great for the general strike that is starting on Friday. But look up mutual aid near me. Quick Google search, and you will find so many mutual aids that you can get involved with to help promote this general strike and make this a reality.
I was looking to see if they had in the hyperlink anything about mutual aid. No, nothing there. But yeah, let me read here. Okay, so this is the reason they have on the website. Why strike? The U.S. government is not serving its people. The U.S. government is the only developed country that requires 0 paid time off for maternity leave. Unemployment rose to 14% in 2021 because companies refused to raise wages. Only 100
higher now.
Right, exactly. Only 100 corporations are responsible for 71% of all global carbon emissions. That is ridiculous. Federal minimum wage hasn't been raised since 2009.
But everything else has gone up.
Right, exactly. 40 million Americans live at or below the national poverty level. Pharmaceutical companies are extorting patients for medication. That is a big one for me. And the average American is over $90,000 in debt just to afford basic necessities like housing, food, clothing, education, and medical bills. In an effort to combat this tyranny, we propose a national general strike starting on October 15th, 2021. This demonstration serves to show your company, our country as a whole, that you deserve basic human rights. Your labor is a bargaining tool, and you are worth more than what society is offering you, which I absolutely agree. Now, before I go into, they have 6 or 7 goals here. What are your thoughts so far on? I know one of the things you did. One of your critiques is of not having a mutual aid linked here. But what do you think about just for why strike? Is there anything you would add to this list of why we should strike?
I would have probably added that both parties are controlled by those corporations. Probably would have thrown that little tad bit in there. But I really like this. I'm reading it why strike? Yeah, let's go. Why strike? But then I get to the our goals section. I'm like, what? But
yeah, so so let's look at half empty, half full. Let's try to do that, Liv. And when I read the goals here, so let's look at half full. So our goals are 25% corporate tax rate, no loopholes, free healthcare for all, 12-week paid paternity and maternity leave, $20 minimum wage, 4-day work week. When I say 2 W's in a row, I always do that. Excuse me. Stricter environmental regulations on corporations, ban on single use and microplastics and limited, admissions. If you support any or all of our goals, stand in solidarity with us on October 15th by taking off work. I will be Friday. Is that Friday the 15th? Yeah, I have other stuff to do. I wasn't working anyway, but I will be off work and I will be abstaining from purchases to participate in the strike. And of course, I will make sure I'm checking the website and checking online and see what what everybody's doing. So Liv, instead of saying what they're lacking, what would you add to this list? What are some of the things you would add to? I know there's a ton. So give us 5, for example. What would you add?
I think that, because that's a lie. Because I think these are all workable. Like, these can be workable. I think this is a great talking point to start with. Starting point. To really reel people in, because the masses, first off, aren't even hearing about the general strike because mainstream media isn't promoting it. These are all good starting talking points of like, because this is, these goals to communism, that pipeline, you got to fill that right there. So these points of like, the government, these corporations, they are so big to the polluter. Throw in that the U.S. military is the biggest polluter. Whoa, we got to defund the military. What could we do with that money if we defunded the military? We could give ourselves healthcare. Well, that's amazing. Would we have money to even increase the minimum wage? I think we could do that too. $20. What about 30? Fuck, what about 40? Okay, now we're talking. What about if we don't have any money at all? What if it's a resource-based system? Like, you get there. So I think this is a good starting point. But I would make a lot of changes.
Right. Now, so how I want to view it, or how I like to view things, movement, direct action, any sort of action that I am in solidarity with, but I feel may not go as far as I would like, is of course to give that honest critique that, hey, these are the things I think should do more, add to this. But we still support this, and we still say everyone should support this October 15th strike that is this upcoming Friday. I mean, if all that comes of it is that we show the powers that be, the power, the buying power, the labor power that we have, even if that's the only takeaway from this, I think it is. It's good. I mean, if you had to label good or not good, it is good, and that's the way I think we all should view it. We have allies. We have people in solidarity with a lot of what we do and want to do, but we disagree on strategy. Sorry about my phone in the back, but we disagree on strategies. We disagree on how far things should go. That is just a fact, and I just want us to understand that I want everybody to not tear down other people that are trying, even if we believe they could do more. As long as it's coming from an honest place. I'm not talking about liberals who are trying to team up with the imperialist state, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people who believe, for example, in this general strike, but they don't have all the demands that you would like. That's what I'm more so talking about. So yeah, October 15th, get involved. Octoberstrike.com is the website. Make sure you go. It's in 2 days. And one other thing I want to promote before I get off here, and that is the pinned tweet on the Fred Hampton leftist.
Is it about what I think it is?
Yes, what we love to talk about here. So let's bring it up. Twitter. And then we'll be getting off here in just a second here. All right. So
Yay!
the General Strike Summit. So we do we're tonight I think we have a FHL meeting. Hopefully we will be able to discuss this a little more tonight. But the General Strike Summit, GSS for short, is not a general strike. We just want to make sure everybody understands that. Is not a general strike. It's a summit to talk about what it takes to build a successful long-term general strike. It's going to be held Friday, November 12th through Sunday, November 14th, streaming 10 a.m. Eastern till 10 p.m. Eastern, each of the 3-day streaming event. This is the artwork or the image for it. If it pops up here any second, hopefully. There it goes. Yeah, so what I want to say about this is like we were saying, we are ready to strike. The passion is there, the energy is there, especially from people that we know on Twitter and social media. But I think we all can say or admit that we do need more, or we would like more. It would be more successful if we had a lot more people. So that's where something like the General Strike Summit comes in, because what we want to do is identify what is making some people hesitant to coming on board with the General Strike. So we need to find out, why are you hesitant? And if that hesitation, is it something that can be addressed to lessen that hesitation or take away the hesitation so we can add more people to the movement? Or if there's something like, hey, what are the demands? Depending on the demands, if I'm able to participate in the demands. This is another thing. When it comes to the demands, I believe the demand should be determined by the movement, not necessarily you have demands and you say, these are the demands we came up with before we asked you, jump on board with our ideas. I feel like people will be more invested or I should be saying larger organizations, especially if if we're trying to get union participation, they're definitely going to have input on the demands. So I think that demands will be created over time, and more and more will be added as more and more people are added to a movement like this. But that is something we will address at the General Strike Summit. So what are some of the things, Liv, that you believe should be addressed at the General Strike Summit? I ask you this all the time, and I'm going to keep asking you every episode. What are some of the things you believe that should be addressed at the General Strike Summit?
Kind of what you just said about the best way of like how to get this word out to people who are already resistant. To me, that's mostly white liberals. And how to make this more tangible, more realistic, to people, to really relay the urgency of the situation we're in right now, and how this is, a revolution in sorts is the only solution. And we got to start somewhere. So I think this is a great start. Also about how to really connect that with mutual aid, defining what mutual aid is, types of mutual aid, where you can find it, how to get involved, organizing, direct action, all types of self-defense. Those are my big ones, I think.
Yeah, and all of that, absolutely. And some things I want to make sure are addressed are the kitchen table things, like if I strike and lose my job, how do I pay my bills?
Yeah,
that's probably one of the most asked, if not the most asked question or concern that people have about a general strike is how do we do that? Because the system has been set up to discourage such movements as the general strike. That's why your healthcare is tied to your labor, because people are willing to walk off their job for higher wages, but they're not necessarily willing to walk off their job if they're going to lose their healthcare. And that's intentionally tied that way in order to do that. So we have to address those things. We have to address those types of things, I feel, in order to make a general strike successful. And maybe this is the first summit. Maybe this is the first of many. Maybe every month we'll have one. Maybe every 2 months, every 3 months, until we build and build and build. And it's going to be work, Liv. It's going to be work. The movement is not easy. A movement is not tired. It's not free from being fatigued and tired. So I want to make sure I make that point. So yeah, just wanted to shout out the general strike. We shouted out the October 15th strike. I'm sorry, General Strike Summit, and then the October 15th strike, and just all the world, the nation, the workers are ready for change. They're ready for a strike. They're ready for this labor movement. Liv, any final words about anything, about the topic, about the populist voice, about your show, anything you want, any final words before I hit that end broadcast?
Check out that excuse me, October Strike. Is it octoberstrike.com page?
Yeah, octoberstrike.com.
Check out octoberstrike.com. Look up mutual aid near me, get involved. Oh my god. Subscribe to Fred Hampton Leftist in the Populist Voice Network. Thank you so much for all y'all love and support. Thank y'all. And stay tuned for so much more to come with the Populist Voice Network and Fred Hampton Leftist, of course.
Absolutely. And what I have to say is I'll be back I'll be back later today for another stream. So stay tuned for that. I don't know the timer off my hand, but it's if you go to the FHL homepage, you'll see like it's scheduled whenever that is. So check that out. Make sure you check that out. And then again, we're working on a flamethrower special edition episode of Straight Out of Politics. We have on board, I can tell you who's on board. It was just the scheduling that's the problem. Of course, Liv. For those who know Sky Daddy on social media or Twitter, she has her own show too. I think it's called Cluck the World. And then we have Afeni, who's FHL member, of course. She'll be on. And then we have Rome. He'll also be participating. And then Kamali will also be there, and Josana will also be there. And non-voting felon, aka Michael, will also be on that panel. So very, very fire panel. Just got to work out the date and time. So look for that. Outside of that, thank you for joining us for this latest episode of Straight Out of Politics. Thank you, Liv, again for joining me. Great episode. Had a fantastic time with this conversation. And until join us next week for another edition of Straight Out of Politics. Same time, Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining us. See you later.
Thanks.